Okay, so today we're going to untangle a story that's pretty wild. It pulls together royalty, a major political crisis, and, you guessed it, the long, dark shadow of a massive global scandal. Let's dive right in. So, what happens when a royal's private messages suddenly become a very public crisis? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down here. We're looking at how some private emails from Norway's crown princess to Jeffrey Epstein just blew up, and we're going to get into all the fallout that followed. So, where does this all start? Well, it all kicks off again when the U.S. Justice Department unsealed this just massive trove of documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And when I say massive, I mean it. We're talking more than 3 million pages of records. It's just a staggering amount of information. And, buried deep inside all of that were some truly explosive connections between Epstein and all sorts of powerful people from all over the world. Now, one of the links that really made people's heads turn, it was pretty surprising, leads us straight to Norway's royal family, specifically to Crown Princess Mette-Marit. Okay, and this is where the timeline becomes so important. It's really critical to understand this. The files show her contact with Epstein didn't just, happen out of the blue. It actually started in 2011. And why does that matter? Well, that's a full 3 years after he had already been convicted of child sex crimes in Florida. So what did these emails actually say? Well, they revealed a whole bunch of messages, and they kind of paint this picture of a surprisingly informal friendship. In one of them, the crown princess apparently told Epstein, "You tickle my brain." And the emails went from just personal updates to these really playful and now obviously super controversial exchanges. For instance, at one point, Epstein mentioned he was on a wife hunt in Paris, and she replied saying that Scandies, Scandinavians, are better wife material. But this next one, this might be the most damning part of all. It really suggests she knew about his reputation right from the start. In an email from 2011, she writes to him, "I have Googled you. It didn't look too good." And then she follows it with a little smiley face emoji. Just, wow. Right, so with all this stuff coming out, you've got to wonder, how did the palace react? And what about the government? Because this is really the moment the story blows up, from a scandal into a full-blown national issue. Well, to her credit, she didn't hide. When the revelations hit, the crown princess put out a very direct, very candid public apology. Through the royal palace, she said she took full responsibility and expressed just how much she regretted it. But then came the prime minister's reaction. And honestly, this was a huge deal. The prime minister, Jonas Gahr Store, publicly said that he agreed with her. He said, yep, she showed poor judgment. Now, for a head of government to say that about a royal, that is extremely unusual. And it was a signal that this was a much bigger problem than just some embarrassing emails. And here's why that's so significant. You see, in a constitutional monarchy like Norway, there's this unwritten rule. The royal family is supposed to be above direct political criticism. So when the prime minister weighs in like that, it's not just a comment anymore. It becomes a major political event. It's important to remember this scandal didn't just happen in a vacuum. It's like it hit the Norwegian royal family during an earthquake. They were already dealing with so many other challenges, and this just piled on top. You really couldn't pick a worse time for this to happen. The family was already under some serious pressure. You've got King Harold, who's been in and out of the hospital with health issues. The crown princess herself is fighting a chronic lung disease. And then, on top of all that, Mette-Marit's son is facing a really serious criminal trial, for charges he denies, I should add. It's just a perfect storm of crises, both personal and public. And, historically, the monarchy in Norway has been pretty popular. Support usually hovered around 70%, which is quite high. But here's the kicker. That number is basically a photo from the past. This poll was taken before any of this new Epstein stuff came out. So what do people think now? That is the big question mark. Okay, let's zoom out for a second, because this is so much bigger than just a Norwegian issue. What this really shows is that global ripple effect. Anyone associated with Epstein, his shadow just continues to cause huge problems, years after his death. And if you want a really powerful example of this, just look at what happened to former U.S. Senator George Mitchell. This is a guy who was absolutely central to the peace process in Northern Ireland. And here is the crucial takeaway. There were no findings of any wrongdoing on his part, okay? But that didn't matter. The mere association that was detailed in those files, that alone was enough for these major institutions to just cut ties completely. A prestigious scholarship program gets renamed overnight, a university takes his name off an entire institute and even removes a bust. The connection itself, that became the crisis. So this all leaves us with one final, really crucial question, and it's a question that goes way beyond the palace walls in Norway. In this age of accountability that we're living in, the shadow of Jeffrey Epstein is forcing this constant, difficult reckoning. And it's not just for the powerful people in the world, it's for all of us. When an old association gets dragged out into the harsh light of the present, how are we supposed to judge it?